Kentucky basketball opens up conference play against the Missouri Tigers tonight. We break down and preview that matchup on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, also host of On the Line on ESPN 106.7 and Fox Sports Central Alabama, also writer for USA Today for various SEC-related things, but on this podcast specifically, we take a dive into all things Kentucky athletics. Really excited that you are along for the ride here today. Conference play is finally here, guys. The Kentucky basketball team will be taking on Missouri, 6-6 Missouri. We will break down that matchup on today's episode, and we're really hoping that there are no COVID issues within the Missouri program, and Coach Cal actually spoke about that yesterday, just talking about how, Kentucky's prepared to play anybody at any point this season if they need to reschedule things, if they need to bring in some non-conference opponents, potentially. Ole Miss versus Florida has already been canceled. That game was supposed to happen today. It's not going to, so really hoping that we have no COVID issues there. I want to start off today talking about the Missouri offense, but before we do that, you may be asking, Lance, why are you wearing an Auburn shirt? What is going on? Well, I was at the Birmingham Bowl today. Yes, that absolutely dreadful matchup. That it was pitiful. Everything about that game was sad. It was overcast. It was damp. It was slightly rainy. It was not a good time for either team, and Auburn did not come out on top. But I was at the Birmingham Bowl today. It was a really cool venue. I will say it beats Legion Field, the new stadium for the UAB Blazers. But anyway, Kentucky basketball, Missouri's offense. Okay, so this is a 6-6 basketball team led by Konzo Martin. We talked about him on yesterday's show. He is not going to be in this game because of COVID-19 issues. He currently has COVID-19. We don't know who else in the Missouri program has COVID-19. None of that has come out yet, if there is anybody with COVID. But I will say, not having him could be a detriment to this team, like we talked about on yesterday's show, for a basketball program that feels like it's in somewhat of a perpetual rebuild. So Missouri's offense averaging, I believe, 67.5 points per game this season. That's not very good for those of you listening at home. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, if you want to subscribe, would really appreciate it. 67.5 points per game so far this season. They're shooting 41.1% from the floor. That is really bad. And they're shooting 24.7% from three, and that number is really bad as well. 41.1% from the floor is 302nd nationally. As we like to remind everybody on this show, there are only 358 teams in Division I, and there's that many. For you to be the 302nd best team in shooting percentage, it's not very good. It is not very good. Missouri only averages 11 assists per game, which is somehow a worse mark than 41.1% from the field. That is 310th nationally, only 11 assists per game. I believe their leading assist man is averaging 2.6 dimes per contest, and that is that's really not good. This Missouri offense is not playing up to standards so far this season. Again, like I mentioned earlier, only shooting 24.7% from three. They don't take a lot of threes, but when they do, they're probably going to miss them. Some other metrics here. We like to talk adjusted efficiency. We know how much we love KenPom here on this show. Their adjusted efficiency, Missouri's is on offense, is 192nd nationally. That's not good. Their average possession length is 16.8 seconds. That's actually a little bit faster than the average possession. And, there's not really a whole lot to take away from that. This is not a very good offense overall. You look at some of the other numbers. Their turnover percentage is 275th nationally, so they don't shoot the ball well, and they turn the ball over. Their offensive rebounding percentage is 35th nationally. If they do anything well on this team, it is grab a couple of boards. Of course, you talk about matching up with Kentucky's defense now, right? That doesn't necessarily bode well for Missouri, that being their strength, because they're going against a team that really knows how to rack up the boards, both offensively and defensively. Does not bode well for this Missouri Tigers offense. 24.3% from three, or 24.7% percent from three, is 355th nationally. So that's third worst in the nation. And there's really no other way to put this other than I think this Missouri offense is really bad. I wanted to put together some standouts for this team. I wanted to go through their starting five, but some of their players that they have play like legitimate minutes they have on the bench, I don't understand why. Like their best guard, Amari Davis, is coming off the bench. I don't get it. They let some freshmen start, but Amari Davis, guard here, averaging 10.4 points per game, 3 rebounds. He's only shooting 25% from three, and he's averaging almost 30 minutes a game. Not very effective scoring from Amari Davis. Their leading scorer in Kobe Brown, a forward, the other standout that I wanted to mention here, 14.8 points per game, 8.9 rebounds per game. Kobe Brown is shooting 24.7% from three. Something about this Missouri offense that you should know, they utilize the pick and roll quite often. That's something that Konza Martin has used for quite some time, and it's been a staple here at Missouri. You watch some of their games this season, you'll notice the way that they like to operate their offense, the way that they like to try and get buckets is by creating a pick and roll and going downhill, seeing if they can get a lob, seeing if they can get a layup with a guard. They're not looking to shoot a lot of threes, but if they are, it is off of that pick and roll action. So that's something that Kentucky's going to have to be aware of. You look at some of Kentucky's defensive metrics here, comparing them to Missouri's offense. So Missouri's field goal percentage, not very good. Kentucky, 15th nationally in holding their opponents to 43.6% from the field. Very, very solid number there from Kentucky. Kentucky also rebounds well. They're 23rd nationally in allowing offensive rebounds per possession. Really, really a stellar number there. Their effective field goal percentage is very, very low, like I mentioned earlier. Their adjusted efficiency, 29th nationally, as opposed to Missouri's 192nd nationally. So it feels like for Missouri, they're going up against a very solid defense on the road at night without their head coach. I don't think that this offense is going to have a lot of success. I'll just put it at that. We're going to talk about the Missouri defense and what the Missouri defense could do to cause some problems for the Kentucky Wildcats in just a second. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar and may even be better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easy to stick to your New Year's resolution because it tastes so good, you'll want to eat it, unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky, waxy, tasteless, or they can just taste completely awful, like a chemical spill. You want to eat it healthy, but it just gets so boring. By like week 3, you might be thinking, this is just not worth it. Where's the chocolate? I certainly have been in that position multiple times. Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you can at least eat something that tastes good and is also good for you. That way, when you enjoy a delicious Built Bar, you can almost count it as a workout. There's so many different flavors to choose from, like coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry. Quick test. What's my favorite Built Bar flavor? Cookies and cream. Good job. Salted caramel, mint brownie, and many more. In fact, Built is always coming out with new limited time flavors, so make sure to check out Built.com to see what's new. And also go head over to Built.com right now and use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, the Missouri defense here. Missouri's defense is actually not that terrible. It's what's kept them in some ball games this season. They are allowing 69.7 points per game, which is 216th nationally, and that's not a good metric, but as opposed to some of these other teams in the SEC, I think that is very solid. Kentucky giving up 62 points on their own, so much better than Missouri, but still, I think this Missouri defense is much better than their offense is, at least statistically. You look at some of their adjusted efficiency numbers, 130th nationally on defense for Missouri. That's not too shabby. Their effective field goal percentage and their 3-point percentage is what really, really bothers me, though, for this Missouri team. Their effective field goal percentage on defense is 54.1. That is 316th nationally. And their 3-point percentage that they are letting opponents shoot is 38.7%. 38.7% from 3. That is very, very high. So you may be saying, Lance, so what's to like about this Missouri team? Well, they grab about 40 rebounds per game. That's very solid. They also create steals. They average 7.4 steals per game, which is nice. And then they also turn opponents over 14.5 times per contest. So very solid numbers there. I would not necessarily say that this is a terrible unit. It's close to a terrible unit, but it is not as bad as their offense has been so far this season. And look, I don't want to rag too much on Missouri, right? They're 6-6. It's not like they're 0-12 right now, but I will say, you couple all of these issues that the Tigers have, right, with the fact that they don't have their head coach on the road tonight. It's definitely going to cause some issues, I think, for this Missouri Tigers team. Looking at some of the other numbers here, their 2-point percentage is 51.3%. That's 238th nationally. So their 2-point percentage they're allowing is not good, and their 3-point percentage is worse. So you may be asking, how does this compare to the Kentucky offense, and what is Kentucky going to do to attack this Missouri defense? Well, Kentucky's adjusted efficiency is 11th nationally, very solid. Kentucky is shooting about 33.3% from 3 and 55.8% from 2. That 55.8% from 2 is 26th nationally, borderline top 25 in the nation. This Kentucky offense knows how to grab offensive rebounds. They're first nationally. So I don't think, again, much like the defense, that this is a very good matchup for this Missouri Tigers team. I think that Kentucky is probably going to have their way inside. I know that metric, looking at the 3-point percentage Missouri is allowing, could potentially end up being a factor, but I really do believe that that Kentucky is going to be able to do whatever they want to on the interior with Oscar Tshiebwe, with Keon Brooks, with guards getting downhill, Severe Wheeler getting into the paint and transition. That's something that you're going to need to watch for in this contest. And I also think that Kentucky, when they do shoot threes, they're going to continue the stretch that they've had over these past 2 games against North Carolina and against who have they played recently? That has completely slipped my mind. Today has been such a wild day that I've completely forgotten who Kentucky played recently. Oh man, Western Kentucky. Excuse me. Wow, what a brain fart. So they're two opponents that they've played against: Western Kentucky, North Carolina. Kentucky has shot a ridiculous percentage from 3. They were 9 of 20 last game against the Hilltoppers. Glad I remembered that. And they've. I think they're going to continue to play well against this Missouri team, because I think initially you're going to see. To start out, you're going to see Kentucky start to attack the rim. They're going to do similar things to what they did to Western Kentucky, which is work the ball inside, get it to Tshiebwe, and then slowly work their way out, right? Get Kellen Grady involved again. I think this could potentially be another big night for him. Start knocking down those 3. Ty Washington in transition. We get to see him potentially shoot some 3s. So overall, I think this is a really bad matchup, both for the Missouri offense and the Missouri defense. And look, I know that I continued to harp during non-conference play on the fact that things were going to get tougher, right? Because the strength of schedule wasn't there. Kentucky was not playing teams that were very high in the KenPom rankings, much less any other rankings, period, out there. And I said that things were definitely going to get more difficult when they got to the SEC. So you look at this opening game, and you would expect that it's going to be a little bit more difficult than the competition Kentucky has faced in the non-con slate. Well, I mean, North Carolina and Western Kentucky, I think, are better programs and better teams right now than Missouri is. And, you know, that comes off as a slight. I mean, this is still an SEC program, but Kentucky has had already 4 different teams if you include Ohio, that have better KenPom rankings, right? And whenever you watch them, they look more impressive than this Missouri team. And if you watch this Missouri team, I mean, they've gotten blown out at different points this season simply because they cannot score on offense. So we are going to wrap up with final thoughts and give a final score prediction on this matchup in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the college bowl season and the pro football playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so wrapping up the Wednesday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Really appreciate you guys making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. I want to remind everybody to please subscribe to the podcast and to the YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, really appreciate you if you would give a like and subscribe and maybe comment some thoughts on the game. Would really appreciate that. If you've made it that far into this video, you are awesome. All right, wrapping up thoughts here between Missouri and Kentucky. So the line for this game, I believe, opened over 20, if I'm not mistaken. It's currently sitting at 19.5 in favor of the Wildcats. And you honestly, guys, if you thought me saying Western Kentucky and North Carolina are better teams than Missouri right now, I mean, that 19.5 point line there that has been given out by Bet Online, that is, oof, you think I'm disrespectful? Almost 20 points in an SEC contest. I think this is going to be a really rough game for Missouri. And like I mentioned earlier, I think Kentucky is going to do just about whatever they want to on offense. And I think on defense, I think if they guard the pick and roll well, this Missouri team's going to die. Because if you can guard the rim and you make this Missouri team shoot, they've proven this season that they can't knock down the three ball. Again, only shooting 24.7% from downtown. They aren't going to make the threes in this game. They don't have the guards to do so. It's a shame that they don't have Xavier Pinson on that squad anymore. Good thing he got out while he could and transferred to LSU. But yeah, I just don't think that this is going to be a good time for the Missouri Tigers tonight. I think that Kentucky's going to run away with this one. Final score prediction. So Kentucky favored in this game by 19.5. I believe KenPom has Kentucky winning this game 79-60. I'm going to say 82-65. I think it is going to be a little closer than what KenPom says, but I don't see Missouri scoring 70 in this matchup. Again, only averaging about 65.2 points per game. Not a very good offense, this Missouri Tigers team, and they're coming up against a Kentucky team that's building momentum. I do really think that Kentucky is going to start to build, right, as conference play goes on. I think Kentucky's going to end up at some point late in this season as potentially a top 10 team again. I think we need to be on the watch for that. I was very down on this team, but I think if they can stay COVID-free and they can stay healthy, I think we're going to see a lot of positive things out of this Kentucky Wildcats team as the season goes on. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow me on Twitter at Dawe. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow us on Instagram at Locked On Kentucky. If you've got any thoughts about Kentucky's matchup with Missouri, shoot me a message. Before, after, doesn't matter to me. I will see you all tomorrow. Go Wildcats, and God bless.